Hey guys, Josh with Finishing. This is episode 2 of our Q&A series. If you're not familiar with it, this is new. Check out the description box. I will be dropping all the questions and the time slots in the description box so you can scroll to a specific question if you want to see the answer to that one. I do 5 questions per episode, so check out the other videos. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Let's get into it. Alright, y'all, let's answer some questions. Number 1 is from Jolie. I have used chipboard instead of plywood for my floors. Is that good or not? Alright, Jolie, so you probably messed up. You know, I personally have not seen anybody put particle board as their subfloor. Not making fun of you, I mean, you do what you want to do, but the issue is, it might hold up just fine, but the issue is, you're going to have a lot of flex, okay? So, particle board is meant for surfaces, okay? And what I mean by that is, like, it makes a good tabletop that you rim wrap with a solid wood edge. Okay, something you can sit things on, whatever. But in terms of load bearing, structural integrity of particle board is awful. So over time, even if you put tile on it, carpet on it, whatever, you're gonna, over time, people stepping on it could possibly crack the material. Plywood kind of has some more flex in it, so that's why they traditionally use that. But not only that, you're going to have moisture issues as well. If you can keep the moisture out of your house, if you can keep from spilling things on the floor, it might be fine. But what you're going to see is, unlike plywood, plywood is large particles or large chips, or plywood is large chips basically of wood compressed and glued together in layers that are like reversed. And so basically that allows it to have good flexibility and structural integrity. With particle board, you have a lot of different grain directions because they're such small particles. So when you introduce moisture into that section of particle board, it's going to swell in every direction possible because you have grains facing different directions. So unlike plywood, plywood might become more flimsy. The glue might kind of not adhere as well to the particles themselves or to the chips themselves. But your particle board, the problem with that is when that stuff gets wet, it likes to flake. It likes to chip out, okay? It kind of reminds me of your glass types. So like you have your tempered glass and you have your regular glass on like a car window. The reason they made tempered glass is because when regular glass shatters, it leaves big chunks of glass behind, which can cut people extremely bad. So tempered glass is stronger, but it also, when it shatters, can break into different particles and small particles that wouldn't necessarily cut you as deeply. I mean, you'll still get cut, but not as deeply. So think of that as your particle board, okay? When you break that particle board, it just flakes out in small little particles everywhere. Plywood, if it breaks, might break into chunks and stuff. And it's easily replaceable and it's easy cleanup. But when your particle board is laid down, you're going to have huge issues with moisture in terms of that. So Jolie, I would recommend maybe pulling that stuff up and putting down plywood. Hope that answers your question. Let's go on with number 2. Alright, question number 2. This one is from Mark. Is it acceptable to build with wet or damp lumber? Okay, Mark. I'm going to say no, because, you know, you can, but you're going to have a bunch of issues in the way in terms of machine wear and expansion, contraction, Basically, I could make an entire list of negatives that fall into the category of working with damp or wet lumber, okay? So I'm just going to say no because there's not any positives to it, all right? Maybe a quicker rollout time in terms of manufacturing, but the customer's going to hate it. The other thing, so when you're building with it, you have shifting and warping. As the humidity leaves that wood, it's going to shrink, okay? So all your joints that were tight before, all your glue that was holding those joints together is all going to have adherence issues and gaps. So like your glue might not adhere to your piece anymore. It might come loose, break. Your joints, like if you have some dovetail joints, those are all going to have gaps in them, and that'll be extremely noticeable. All your tight corners, your 90 degrees, those will be exposed now with gaps. So I would recommend no, don't build with it, okay? The next thing I want to mention too is when you're working with damp lumber and you put a finish on it, the moisture has to go somewhere, right? If you seal that entire piece with poly or something and that humidity needs to leave somewhere, it's going to leave no matter what, okay? So you're going to have chipping and flaking from your poly just eroding basically, because that humidity is going to want to push up through the wood and escape. So you're going to have all this flaking and chipping and all this sorts of stuff. That's just going to make your poly look absolutely terrible. It might even change the color of your stains and stuff like that. Basically just, it's not going to take stain well either before you even put the poly on. The surface is going to look terrible. You're going to get insane blotchiness because you may have different humidities in different sections of that wood. Like if you had some laying in an old shop and maybe water was dripping on one edge and not the other through the roof, you're going to have stain issues when you go to stain that because that wet part is going to look entirely different than the dry part, okay? Other than that, I hope that answers your question, Mark. Let's get on to number 3. Okay, number 3. This one's interesting. I've never built a guitar. I've thought about it, but there's a lot of math that goes into it. So if you're thinking about it, do some research because there's some major systems that go into building one, okay? A lot of people think they can just build one out of wood. Any wood, okay? The question from Stephanie here, she's asking what is the best wood to make a guitar fretboard. So the part where you put your fingers on to make the chords, that wood behind those strings is what she's talking about. You can't just use any wood, okay? Something interesting about wood though, it actually carries different resonance. What I mean by that is you're going to get different sounds based on what wood you use. Pretty cool, right? So the main ones that I recommend are maple. That's kind of a crispy tone, okay? If you want a nice crisp tone. Ebony is a good one. I've heard of people using mahogany too. I haven't done much research on that one. I know they use that for the body mostly, or like a flamed maple of some sort. But ebony is another one, and these are the two I recommend, are maple and ebony. Ebony has a warm sound to it, so if you want warm tones, like a warmer sound, maybe for an acoustic guitar, that would be what you want, okay? An electric, maybe the maple side for a crisper tone so you can get that real electric feel when you plug that into the amp. So those are my 2 recommendations. Don't just use any wood. They do have different resonance in terms of the fibers that are in the wood. They carry sound, and that is extremely important, okay? So I hope that answers your question. We're going to go on to number 4. Alright, so number 4. This one's from Walter. Are golden oak kitchen cabinets making a comeback? No, I don't believe they are. I think they are present in today's construction, yes, but I think it's very irrelevant compared to the percentage of people that are painting and using custom stains. The last cabinet shop that I worked for was like it was in 2017, I think. And 20 years ago, they were at 10 to 20% of cabinets that they were painting. All right. In 2017, they were up to nearly half of their cabinets that were painted. So no, I don't believe they're making a comeback. I think painted cabinets are the way to go now. A lot of people are using matte cabinets, matte paint to paint their cabinets. You know, I always liked the sheen. I always liked a high gloss or a semi-gloss, but I found out in construction, especially in residential terms, those cup lights that they're putting in, or the pot lights they're putting in kitchens now, are LEDs, so they reflect heavily, and they can make semi-gloss to high-gloss cabinets look pretty bad. So they're actually doing a lot of matte paint on new construction. So the other thing too that you have to focus on is look at your type of construction, okay? Golden oak is like the classic traditional look. But look at your construction of cabinets nowadays. It's made out of other materials. It's made out of composite materials, plywoods, chipboard, stuff like that. So in terms of that, you have to think, all right, they're not making these things out of standard 2x4s or just lumber they get from Home Depot. They're making legitimate wood cabinets that are completely customized. All those composition materials that are being used, those are the people that like to paint them, okay? Because they are built out of cheaper materials. So they paint them, it hides everything, it just looks clean, looks modern, it looks sharp. There's not a lot of crazy contouring or moldings that go into that. But your solid wood cabinets, they have tons of crown molding, they have tons of trim, stuff like that. Look at the cost of those now. Back in the day, you had home builders building, I would imagine, probably $20,000 cabinet sets for kitchens now. Today, I would say we did multiple sets that were made out of solid wood, a lot of hickory, going up in the $50,000 to $60,000 range. So with woods like that, and the popular woods too, you have to look at like walnut, mahogany, cherry, stuff like that. Those are woods that, you know, you put that traditional golden oak color on, they don't look that great. So what people are actually doing now, if they have the money to pay $50,000, $60,000 for their cabinet sets, what you're going to realize is they're not going to pay just the little amount to put that ugly stain on it, right? They're actually going to dish out the extra money to get a custom stain that looks perfect for their home. So back to the question, Walter, I don't think golden oak is a color that's coming back. I think it's going to stick highly in the paint region along with custom stains. I don't see it going anywhere back to the traditional look. That's just my opinion though. So let's get on with number 5. Alright, number 5. This one is from John. Why should we design spaces with furniture on wheels? Something a friend of mine that was super experienced that I went through school with, he had traveled overseas and actually worked at a cabinet shop in Europe. And what he realized was they don't build cabinets the same way they do in the US. In fact, he said that some people actually take their cabinets with them when they move locations. That being said, they build their cabinets on wheels. Now, there's a lot of advantages that go into that. One, you know, you might have this crazy kitchen, all compact, everything like that. Maybe you're having 10, 20 guests over for like a Christmas dinner, and you have a giant table set out, but you have a big island in the way of all those people. You need to get that island maybe moved over to another location, right? So you put it on wheels. There are some in the US that have that. Now the actual cabinetry up on the walls and stuff, those don't typically have wheels in the US, but I could see that being a new trend as well. And in terms of furniture in general, you know, it doesn't, I'm not saying it should be designed that way, but I've had furniture on wheels. I've had coffee tables on wheels, dinner tables even on wheels. Kind of weird. But the coffee tables on wheels, that's a great idea too. I mean, I've saved a lot of time not having to haul it around everywhere, pick it up because it had glass in it, like not risking the break. Just being able to wheel it off into a different location, that's saved me a ton of time. In all reality, you have to think of it like a shop space. Why do they put toolboxes on wheels? So you can move them easier. They're full of heavy stuff. You know, they provide more room for whatever you need for that location. So it's simply just a fact, just the fact of having it able to move to a different location. That's all it's for. Now, do I see this becoming a new trend? Yes and no. I think it could be something that's super important when it comes to smaller living spaces. Obviously, minimalism and, you know, dropping down sizes on your house are kind of a trend now, kind of minimizing what you own, this and that, minimizing your living space, your earthly consumption as a consumer. So in that term, I would say yes, that would apply better in the new trendy regions of smaller living. You know, if you are living in a tiny house and you have that dinner table that needs to be moved, or you have those cabinets that could be rotated or stuff like that, I think that could be a new trend. But yeah, other than that, I mean, there's reasons for it and there's reasons not to do it. It's kind of your preference on how you want to design your space and what you want to use your space for. If you want to make it more of a living area / kitchen, yeah, maybe consider putting your stuff on wheels. But other than that, I hope that answers your question, John. That is it. That is my 5 questions. This is episode 2. We'll be coming out with more real soon. Hope to see you guys soon. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to this channel to keep up with all my content. Check out some of my furniture flips, and we will see you guys later.